Okay. Christy, I am so excited to have you on today. This has been such a long time coming. We were talking about this prepping, and I was like, you've been on before, right? No, I just imagined that, I guess. But I'm thrilled to have you here today. What you have to say is so powerful and so important, and I think it's something that all of us really, really need to hear. So I'm thrilled to dive into that. But first, why don't you introduce yourself and just tell everyone a little bit about what you do and who you serve?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm so excited to be here. This is long overdue and I'm excited. So I'm Christy. I'm a business coach. I work with creative and neurodivergent entrepreneurs and I help them build businesses that feel fun and easy rather than overwhelming and stressful. And I do that through coaching in the Dream Biz Lab and one-on-one coaching. And it has come after a lot of hard work with my inside myself, which we're going to talk about today. And I'm just super excited to be serving my people and doing what I love.
And I love you work specifically with neurodivergent
Mhm.
entrepreneurs. And I just love that. I love that you've really niched into like these are my people and I get them and they get me. And I think it's so great.
Yeah, I agree. I think that as a neurodivergent person, generally like traditional business strategies don't really work for us. And I would include creative entrepreneurs in that group as well because we generally find different creative ways to do things. That's why we're creative, because we kind of see things differently, do things differently. Our brains need things differently, need things different in order for us to thrive. And I have honestly like talked with a lot of people. I've surveyed over 100 people this year to figure out what they're really struggling with, and especially neurodivergent entrepreneurs. Like they really struggle with being like difficulty focusing, feeling like when someone teaches them a strategy, they can't just put it into practice immediately because there's some step that doesn't work for their brain. And so I really am here to help people see their neurodivergence or their creative brain as a skill because it really is like, or an asset because it really is something that helps us to do incredible, wonderful things, but it does come with the need for self-awareness and like reflection and like self-compassion, number one, to be like, okay, if this strategy isn't working for me, it's not because there's something wrong with me. It's just that I need to adapt and figure out what is going to work for me. And what works for me on Monday might be different than what works for me on Tuesday. And that's okay.
Yeah. I love that so much. You mentioned helping entrepreneurs thrive. Define thriving for me. Like, what
Oh,
does that look like? Because I think what we assume thriving would look like is not always what thriving actually looks like. And so, what have you found
ooh.
that to actually look like in your own business and with your clients?
Okay, that is a big question. I think you're absolutely right. Um, Thriving kind of comes along with like your own definition of success. And I think a lot of times we view success as monetary or we view it as numbers based. And it is because we do want to be making money in our business and we do want to be reaching our goals. However, I've experienced seasons in my business and my life where I was reaching my financial goals, but on the inside, I felt completely overwhelmed. I was having panic attacks like multiple times a week. And so for me, thriving looks like not only reaching your financial goals, but also feeling good on a day-to-day basis, feeling settled. Like I talk a lot about getting in tune with your body and the signals that your body is telling you with my coaching clients. And our culture kind of teaches us to ignore the signals that our body is giving us, to just push through, work harder, try harder, do more, optimize your life so that all of your minutes are productive. And that's really not helpful as a human being. Like, as a human being, you need more. You not more, you really need a more robust, more like well-rounded, more wholehearted view of life because we need things like time to rest, especially as creatives. We need time to integrate. We need time to piddle around and do nothing without feeling shame about it because shame is not a way to motivate you into doing something better. It's really just going to keep you stuck. Anyways, I'm kind of going off on a rabbit trail, but to me, thriving is not just having something that looks successful on the outside, but feeling calm in your body and having fun on a day-to-day basis, like waking up and being excited about what you do, feeling like your calendar is not too maxed out, and that you are just enjoying your day-to-day life.
Yeah. I think it's so important. And you mentioned that you've been through that struggle of
Hmm.
hitting those goals, but not feeling like things fit,
Hmm.
maybe. Um, and we were working together at that point, right? And I
Yes,
just,
we were.
I could tell in our conversations that you were like, you're hitting your goals, but you're not. You could just tell that you knew something wasn't right, but you at that time couldn't figure out what it was that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Um, if you're open to it, I would love if you're willing to share some of that, like what that felt
Yeah.
like, what that story looked like, because you had such a successful quote unquote business, right? Like you
Mhm.
were employing multiple family members.
Yeah.
You had set this big dream for yourself, right? Like we all think and we're told like set this big vision board of what you want your dream and your legacy to be and what you want your business to do for you. And I think for some people it's a great motivator. I personally get overwhelmed by that and
Yeah.
this idea of like I have to hit that successful dream vision. And I don't know if that's a neurodivergent thing or if that's a me thing, but um seeing you walk through this journey was really eye-opening for me personally. So I
Mhm.
would love whatever you're comfortable sharing with everyone to
Yeah.
just share a little bit about that because I think it would be helpful for others to hear about that same story as well.
Yeah, I would love to share. And actually, when you and I started working together, that was kind of when things in my business were kind of unraveling.
Mhm.
I really was putting external success as my main goal because I had team members that I needed to support. And when you and I were working together, like I wasn't even hitting my financial goals at that time because I feel like my core like thing that I was chasing was so out of alignment with what I really wanted and what I really like dreamed about my life like being. I want my life to be I really thrive on having an open calendar and what I was creating was a full calendar. And so yeah, I'd love to tell a little bit about the behind the scenes on what was happening. So in 2023, I was working as an online business manager and I was working to help people with the back end of their businesses and to get their systems set up like Honeybook, Dubsado, 17 Hats, their email sequences and things like that. And I remember whenever I would have a project that I had to work on, it was like pulling teeth, getting me to work on the project because I really didn't want to be doing that type of work. It's work that I was good at and work that I could do in my own business. And I thought that because I was really good at it in my own business, that I should be able to do it for other people. But that was really not the case. I mean, because I was really just living in this like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this because I have the skill. This is what I should be doing. And so I was kind of ignoring that little voice in the back of my head that said, this is not the work that I really want to be doing. Because whenever I would start a project, I would be like, ugh, I don't want to do this. But I ignored that voice because I thought that I needed to do that to be successful. I needed to do this service to be successful. Because really, what was holding me back was a lack of like belief in myself and a lack of belief that I could actually make money doing what I wanted to do, which is coaching and consulting and helping people through their businesses. I didn't want to be the person that was building the systems. I just thought that's what I should do because that's what's going to make more money. That's what's going to sell easier. And then if I do this, I don't actually have to work on my limited mindset beliefs about why I don't think I should be a successful coach, whatever. So I was doing that. I ended up bringing on a full-time team member, my brother-in-law, to help me in 2023. And when he first came on, things were going fantastic. Like I was signing clients because he also has skill in web design. We were also starting to do some back-end web support for people, in addition to the online business management services. And I was just like crushing my financial goals. I ended up scaling to 10K months, which honestly, like at the start of 2023, I didn't believe that a $10,000 month was possible for me. I would look at people who were saying, "Oh, I hit 10K months," and I would be like, "How did you do that?" But really, I mean, I was able to because I would worked with a coach who helped me to get rid of some of my like beliefs around money and also really helped me with my sales, which resulted in more sales. And so then what happened was I kind of just got a little bit cocky, I think. My ego kind of got in the way. So at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024, um, I felt like, oh, I'm having all this success. Let me just do more. Let me bring in more. And so I started bringing in more people to help me grow my team. Three people from my family came in, and we were starting to book more projects and more projects. But what happened at the beginning of 2024 is I got sick with a cold, which is fine, no big deal, like whatever, I can recover. But I actually never took time to recover because we were so booked on our calendar because of all the work that I had done in 2023 to fill out my calendar. And so I felt like I couldn't take a break. After that, and I got better, then I immediately got sick again with the flu, which was a little bit harder because the flu, you're down and out. But once again, I didn't take a break. I kept working. I hadn't really yet equipped my team to fully take over because I was still kind of the bottleneck in my business. There were a lot of things that still fell to me. And so I felt like I couldn't take a break. And what ended up happening was there was a period of 7 days where I barely slept at all. And that led to me, what I didn't know at the time was having hypomania, which I don't know if you're familiar with hypomania, but it's a symptom, it's something that happens in people who have bipolar 2 disorder. I haven't been diagnosed with bipolar 2, but I potentially do have that because the hypomania happened to me. It could have just been stress induced, who knows? But for 7 days, I didn't sleep except for maybe an hour a night. And when you don't sleep, your body and your brain kind of start to go crazy. Um, but I was just like, oh, I'm fine. It's okay. I'll just keep working. And so I kept working. And then I got COVID. And then that happened again, where I had another period a month later of 7 days with no sleep. And this was the worst one. I mean, this was like my my best friend was calling my parents to check on me and be like, I don't think Christy's okay. And I wasn't okay. I actually had a complete mental breakdown. I started to go into cognitive decline where like I couldn't even finish sentences because of the state that my brain was in. And I kind of had a nervous breakdown. And it was very scary for a little bit. But that's when I realized, wait a minute. I've been working and working and working and working, and I haven't been taking care of myself. And it got so bad that my body just shut down and was like, okay, we're going to take care of you for you. And so I literally couldn't work. And I actually had to let go of pretty much all of my clients during a period of 2 months. And then finally, when it hit me, like, I don't think I'm okay. I let go of my final client in June of 2024 and was like, I need to focus on myself because this is not okay. And like the fact that I let it get to this point means that I am ignoring the most important asset of my business, which is myself. And so I kept pushing myself past my limits, and it ended up not being very good for me. Like I said, I went a little bit delusional. I thought things were fine, but really it wasn't. And so finally, my body was like, okay, we're going to deal with this for you. And that's what happened. So that's my story of burnout and having a mental health crisis to boot.
And then you took a significant step back, right? How
Yes.
many months did you take a step back from work?
So I actually, all in all, took 6 months off. That wasn't necessarily intentional. What was intentional was taking some type of time off. I didn't know how much I needed to take off, but it was really challenging because I had to tell my team, like, hey, I don't have money to pay you because I'm not making any sales because I'm unwell and this can't continue and I need to stop. And so I had to let go of all my team members and they're my family. That was really, really difficult. So that happened. I continued to support them until August. And then in August, September, October, I was working with a coach really just to help me and my like self-love and like empowerment because I had a lot of feelings of failure because my business had shut down and I've always been a business owner. It was a huge part of my identity. So that took a period of time. And then I started dipping my toes and trying to figure out like what would feel good. But honestly, for a full 6 months, I would walk past my desk and get like heart palpitations. And whenever I would try to start thinking about, well, maybe I could do this, maybe I could work again, I was still trying to build from a place of like, well, I need to make this money. I need to make this money. I need to do this. Like it was from a place of fear because I had lost so much money going through what I went through because it's not cheap to have four team members and then have to continue paying them when you're unwell and you can't work. And so every time I tried to drop a new plan, it was still coming from fear and it just didn't really turn into anything because I would end up being stressed again and having anxiety attacks and panic attacks again. And so I didn't start feeling like I really actually had to change my entire philosophy of how I work
Mm.
before I could actually get back into working. And that took about 6 months. I kind of took the slow, scenic route around it.
Which it sounds like you needed.
I did. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing that, Christy. I know you've done a lot of work, obviously, on, like you said, your self-love, but I know that was a really hard time for you.
Yeah.
Um, and I just appreciate you being willing to share all of that with us.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
excuse me. How do we prevent that from happening in our own businesses, though? Because I know that's what you're really passionate about helping people
Mhm.
do now is like, we don't want to get to that point where you've got a mental health break. Or I had a business friend who had a pulmonary embolism.
Mm,
She, was like, it's because I wasn't taking care of myself. Like our
yeah.
they will shut things down if we don't take care of ourselves. So how do we do that? How do we prevent our body from being like, no, no, no?
Yeah.
Where do we even begin with that?
That is such a great question. And even like it doesn't even have to get to the point of a pulmonary embolism or having a complete mental health breakdown like I did. I'm sure anybody listening can think back to a time in their life where they've maybe experienced burnout and they have felt like burnout can come from working yourself too hard. It can even come from working something that you don't enjoy over a period of time and not giving yourself what your human body needs to thrive. So the number one place to begin when it comes to taking care of yourself and preventing burnout is start with your body. Start listening to the signals that your body gives you. For me, my signal usually comes in the form of anxiety or stress, and I feel anxiety right in the center of my chest. A lot of people feel their anxiety or their uneasy feelings in their stomach or their backs. Like it's a different place for everybody. But the number one thing that you need to do is start listening to those signals and paying attention and getting curious and
Mm.
saying, what am I feeling? Describe the feeling and get more curious about the feeling. A lot of times in our culture, we are taught to push through the signals that our bodies are giving us that, like, hey, you might be getting sick, or hey, you might be overworking yourself, or hey, you're a little bit stressed out right now. We're taught to push through because we have so many things on our calendars. And then we look at our phones to distract us because normally our usual coping mechanisms are to distract ourselves from the feeling that we're feeling. We don't want to dig in. We don't want to figure out what the feeling is because it's uncomfortable. It's hard work to be like, maybe the way I've been doing things is not helping me. Anytime you're going to make a change with yourself, it's hard work. And so it takes a lot of bravery to dig in and be like, what am I feeling and why am I feeling that? So step number one is to get in touch with your body and notice what you're feeling and then start to get curious about what you're feeling and why. So, does that feeling come up when you're doing certain tasks? Does it come up when your schedule is a certain level of fullness? Does it come up when you are at night when you're sleeping? Maybe you don't. I've known people who say they don't feel anxiety during the day, but they have nightmares at night. And they think that it's because of stress and anxiety. And so, if you're not able to figure out what it is, work with a therapist to figure out what that is. I'm not a therapist. I don't pretend to be one. So the step number one is definitely getting in touch with your body. And then step number two is to follow your energy. Energy management is a huge portion of the work that I do with people because if you can learn to listen to your energy, understand the signals that your body's telling you around your energy, and then follow that energy, that's kind of where you can start to have like success that leads to you feeling like you're thriving. So that good feelings. So for me, it's all around energy management, listening to when am I feeling low energy and giving myself what I need? Maybe it's a nap, maybe it's a snack, maybe it's a walk outside when I'm feeling low energy and starting to pay attention to those patterns. I feel low energy once a month as a woman. I feel low energy other times because of different things going on with my body or in my life. And so paying attention to those signals and actually giving yourself what you need can be really, really helpful in taking that step forward to number one, listen, and then number two, follow your energy. So listen to it, and give yourself what you need.
Hmm. But how do we, so okay, you mentioned that you work well with an open calendar,
Mhm.
right? Um, how do we discover those things about ourselves? Like, how do we discover how we really work best in order to create a business where we're thriving?
Yeah, that is a great question. So you have to experiment. It really comes down to trial and error. And so for me, it started with recognizing just a pattern that was happening in my life, which was anytime I had something really stressful or something on my calendar in the morning, I was not sleeping. So
Mm.
if I had a 9 a.m. meeting, even if it was a meeting that I like wanted to go to, I wouldn't sleep and I would be up. I would be stressing about it. I wasn't even, even if I'm not stressing about it, like even if it's something that I enjoy doing, I realized I would be up because I was worried about sleeping past my alarm or whatever. I have generalized anxiety disorder, so I get anxious sometimes for no reason at all. But I noticed that pattern. And the pattern was when I have a morning meeting, I can't sleep the night before, and then I'm not operating the next day.
Mhm.
We can operate maybe on maybe one day, but like 2 days. Anyways, I just kept having this continual pattern. So no, it really comes down to noticing the patterns. So that's
Mm.
why I said it at the start. It takes a lot of self-awareness. So you just have to pay attention to, okay, you didn't sleep last night or whatever your situation is. Why do you think that is? And if you can kind of dig in, for me, I realized, well, I have this meeting in my calendar. So I had to set boundaries in my calendar to make sure that I don't have any morning meetings. And so now an intentional boundary that I set is I don't have any meetings before 11 a.m. because I've found that doing meetings at 11 a.m. whenever I go to sleep, I don't stress about a meeting. Whenever I wake up in the morning, I'm not stressed about getting to my meeting. I might wake up at 7 a.m. and still have hours before my next meeting. But the point is that for me, I noticed a pattern that I needed to take care of myself and have that be a boundary for myself. So it really comes to self-awareness and noticing patterns of, again, tapping into your body and being like, when do you feel good? So for some people, they like to have a full calendar,
Mm,
and maybe that's what helps them. They want to have a full calendar. So just notice, when do you feel your best? If you have a week where your calendar's empty, maybe you feel restless. Maybe you feel just like not happy. Maybe you're stressed because you feel like you're forgetting something. It comes down to noticing your own patterns
mm,
and then using trial and error to figure out what will be best for you. I know that's not a magical answer because there is no formula for one person. It really comes to your own self-awareness and trial and error, in giving yourself the permission to do what you need and giving yourself the permission to experiment. So I used to have things that I would have to do in the mornings, and I gave myself permission to say, you know what, I'm going to stop going to these morning meetings to see if this helps. And it did help. And so then I implemented that boundary in my business.
mm. It's so fascinating and thinking about boundaries in combination with energy management. I don't think I've ever done that. I
Yeah.
tend to think like, what other boundaries are people putting into place? And then if I think they're a good idea, I put them into place in my own life.
Yeah.
Um, but something that I've noticed for myself, and I guess that I've implemented it as a boundary without thinking of it as a boundary, is that I work best in the mornings. And
Yeah.
so I have to get up at a consistent time, do my morning routine, and get to work. And if I don't, if I sleep in or if I try to have like a slower day, I don't get as much done and I don't feel as good. Um,
Yep.
and my husband thinks that's why he's like, we could just sleep in. And I'm like, no, but if I sleep in, then I don't get like it, I don't know. But I've never thought about that as like in my mind, those first few hours of the day, there is a boundary there of just
Mhm.
like that is when I'm doing my deep work. Um, but I've never thought about that as far as creating boundaries in relation to energy management and what that could look like.
Yes. So everybody's boundaries are going to be different, and everybody's thing that they need to thrive is going to be different. A lot of productivity gurus, they like to say you got to work in the morning and you got to put your deep work block right at the beginning of the day. And for you, it sounds like maybe that is what you need and that
Not
does
for
work for
everyone.
you. But not for everyone. Whenever I try to do my deep work blocks in the morning, I'm like tired and I'm worried about it. And I just told one of my coaching clients on a call today, if I put something on my calendar and it's not an actual meeting, I'm definitely moving that calendar block to somewhere else because my brain just like revolts. I don't want to do that thing if it's on my calendar. If it says I have to do this at this time, I don't want to do it. Unless it's a meeting. I'm happy to do meetings. I love meetings. They energize me. Talking to people fuels me, and so that's something that takes some self-awareness. I also like to think of boundaries in three different categories. So I think of boundaries in time boundaries, work boundaries, and communication boundaries. And most business owners, we spend our time on time boundaries, and that's it. We don't really go any farther than that. We say, well, I'm not going to work after 5 p.m. or, well, I'm not going to work on the weekends, and that's my boundary. And that's great. I'm really happy that you're putting that time in, but you could actually go deeper and give yourself more of what you need, because if there is something that you're consistently not having time for, or something that you're consistently, for example, with my work when I was an online business manager, I was consistently feeling feelings of I don't want to do this work, but I
Mm,
didn't listen to that because I didn't think that that was a thought that I should have. I didn't give myself permission to think maybe you don't actually want to do this.
mhm.
So for me now, I've already talked a little bit about my time boundaries, which one of them is no meetings before 11 a.m. Another one for me is I have a no meetings week every single month because my ADHD brain needs time to literally do whatever I want. And so I block off a full week every single month where there's nothing on my calendar at all to give me time to work on my business or maybe just sleep a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Um, and then work boundaries. An example of a work boundary for me is I don't do those projects anymore that I was doing that gave me those feelings of I don't want to do this. So now the only work that I do is work that I actually want to do. So a strategy for me that I use personally is if someone gives me a request for work, I wait 24 hours before I answer them because I need to be able to feel all the emotions that I'm going to feel, and decide, make a clear-headed choice after I've gone through and slept on it and gone a full 24 hours to make sure, is this something, yes, that will light me up, or is this something that I really don't want to do? And then I gave myself permission to do what I want to do. So some work boundaries that I have are I don't do work that I don't want to do. I also make sure that I prioritize my needle moving tasks, and I don't shame myself if I go down a rabbit hole and do some hyper focused project because that's important to me as an ADHD person. And then for communication boundaries, you're actually a fantastic example for this because I've worked with you as a client and I'm in your playbook with which has your VIP access, which is fantastic. But what I love is that you have a boundary that when someone wants your feedback on something, they have to fill out a form to get your feedback. So that's a fantastic example of a communication boundary to help you be more sane and not feel like you're forgetting something, because if everybody has to go through that form, then okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm assuming, and look at my form now and then work on what's in my queue. So that's a fantastic example of a communication boundary of like, I'm going to give my clients one place to communicate with me, Voxer, Slack, email, whichever. And if they need something done, I'm going to give them a place to do that. And it's your responsibility to communicate with that. And you do such a great example of this because, maybe I think I've maybe sent you a Google Doc before, an email, and you'll write back and be like, hey, can you put this in the form? And that's a great example of you enforcing your communication boundary because really your boundaries are only as good as your willingness to enforce them. I didn't get that quote from myself. I got it from Paige from the legal page because I heard her speak at the Creative Educator Conference and she said your contract is only as good as your willingness to enforce it. And I would like to apply it to boundaries. Your boundaries are only as good as your willingness to enforce them. And it's your responsibility to, once again, get curious, ask yourself what you need, give yourself permission to give yourself what you need, and give yourself permission to experiment on what's going to work for you to help you operate at your best so that in your day to day you feel good and you thrive and you're like, this was a good day. I'm happy. I'm feeling good.
I love this whole mindset around boundaries that you're creating here because, like I said, I've literally searched like what are boundaries that I should put into place, right? Like,
Yeah.
and just pick and choose from there. But it doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't fulfill and it doesn't stop burnout if it's not a
Right.
boundary that makes sense for yourself and for your business. Um, and so I love that you are taking this like you first, energy first approach. But because it's not as simple as here are examples, put them into your own business, I know that that means we have to do some work.
Hmm.
Luckily, you have created a toolkit, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I do. So I have a toolkit called the Burnout Proof Your Business Toolkit. And in that toolkit, it actually does give you a lot of ideas on boundaries that you can set because that is a great place to start. It's a great place to see what other people are doing in terms of their boundaries in their business and just read through them and be like, oh, that sounds like one I would like to implement. I think that we get overwhelmed a lot with any business idea that comes our way. We think that, oh, because this person is doing it this way and they're successful, I need to do it that way. But that is not true. There's 1,000 ways to do business, and you have to find the ones that work for you. Seeing what someone else is doing is a great place to start and get inspired and do some trial and error. But if or when that strategy that they give you doesn't work for you, it's okay to move on and try something else. So, in my Burnout Proof Your Business toolkit, there are lists of time boundaries, communication and boundaries, and work boundaries that you can try to implement in your business. And there are also journaling prompts that will help you to kind of dig in and see where those areas of friction are coming up in your business, where you can spot those feelings of anxiety or overwhelm in your business and understand like what it feels like in your body. Because some people maybe have never even stopped to think about the signals that their body is giving them. So it's going to give you a lot of journaling prompts to kind of get dig deep and get inside your own brain. And I'm doing a workshop today on it. And so after today, the toolkit will also include the video. If you want to be walked through it that way, you can be walked through the workshop that helps you to get more in depth onto what works for you, because it does take a lot of self-awareness. So yeah, you can get that toolkit at christijohnsоncreative.com/boundaries, and it's your burnout proof your business boundaries toolkit.
And we will also link to that in the show notes and in the
Yes.
description of this YouTube video so that it's an easy click for you. But
Yay.
if someone wants to take things deeper with you, tell us about the Dream Biz Lab.
I would love to tell you about the Dream Biz Lab. The Dream Biz Lab is my coaching community for creative and neurodivergent entrepreneurs. And when you hear coaching community, you might think, oh my goodness, that's expensive. It's actually not. It is membership style with a lot of in-depth time with me in a group setting. And you can upgrade to have one-on-one access if you want it. But in the Dream Biz Lab, for me personally, I have seen the most growth and the most like wellness in my business when I've consistently met with a community, a group of people that's sharing in my successes, that is supporting me when I'm feeling low, and that is just generally cheering me on. And so it's a community style coaching membership, and we meet every other week. And once a month is a themed topic. So we'll have some direction on where we want to go. And then the other meeting that we have once a month is just an open Q&A for any acute issue that comes up in your business. And so through the Dream Biz Lab, the goal is for you to get more curious about what it looks like to thrive for you. I know for me, I have to do a lot of work with another person. It's very hard for me to figure out what I need on my own. And so I have to work with someone else to have them ask me the right questions and have them kind of get it out from me, and maybe ask me questions that I haven't thought about before. And then I always need community to help me stay accountable and on track for my goals and all those types of things. So that's what I've created. It's really the community that I wish I had as an entrepreneur, a creative and neurodivergent entrepreneur. And so that is my community, and it's available if you want to check it out at christijohnsonCreative.com/lab.
Which we will also link to. Now,
Yay.
if you could give everyone one really simple action step to take this week on everything that we've covered, what would it be?
Whew. My one action step to you would be to get curious when you feel feelings of overwhelm or stress or anxiety. That's my one ask. When you feel that feeling, rather than move on to your next thing, I want you to pause and I want you to reflect and I want you to think, what am I feeling and why might this feeling be happening? If you want to take it a step further, you can journal about it at the end of your day. But the number one thing would be, rather than moving past that feeling, just going right on to the next thing, would be to pause and get curious about that feeling and give yourself what you need. Your body is very good at telling you what you need if you listen to it. So that would be my one action step.
Amazing. And then I don't let anyone get away without giving a book recommendation. So, one book that everyone has to read. It does not have to be business. It can totally be fiction or anything, really. Um,
Okay.
yeah, one suggestion.
Ugh. I think the book that I would recommend is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. That book changed so much for me in my life and my business because I'm a recovering perfectionist. Um, I ugh, I used to operate a lot in a shame-based system of like, oh, I'm doing this wrong, so I need to do it right. And that is not going to help you get to where you want to go. Making progress on yourself and in your business really starts with self-acceptance. And Brene's work in general has helped me a lot, but that is a fantastic book to start with. It's very short, it's a really easy read, and that's the one I would recommend.
Amazing. We will link to that in the show notes as well.
Yay.
Hey, thank you so much for being here today, for being so open and vulnerable with your story, and just
Of
giving
course.
us such a great launching point for setting boundaries in our business so that we can create a business where we are thriving and the business isn't the only thing thriving.